All right, well, good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Good, good. Come on, let's have a little life. How's everybody doing? All right, that'll do. All right, thanks. No, seriously, welcome. Congratulations on getting through traffic and finding a parking spot. That was particularly difficult tonight. We had a little bit of a shift tonight. Our original guest speaker, Michael Allison, had a personal emergency and had to cancel about an hour and a half ago. And what we're very fortunate is we have some excellent faculty who are willing to jump in and stand in for that. And so tonight we'll hear from someone who is often a professor here for our MBA students, particularly in the hospitality track, Dr. Peter Ricci. And as I was thinking about this, I didn't get the usual bio on Dr. Ricci, but I've gotten to know him over the last few years, seen him both as a faculty member and as an industry relations person here. He provides this excellent mix that we like to see in the business school, where you have someone with extensive industry experience who then has gone back and gotten a graduate degree and come back to be a professor. So I will tell you that he has earned his degrees from the University of Central Florida and the University of Florida. He's a very proud Gator. One of his best accolades he's gotten. Yeah, be careful with that, Peter. He's doing the Gator chomp thing. But he was the outstanding alumnus from the Masters in Hospitality program there. Yeah, Hospitality and Tourism. So being the outstanding alumnus of the year for that program is an excellent recognition. He's also won awards from the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International. He's won their Lifetime Achievement Award. Also in his honor, I believe it was the first year I was here, they named a scholarship in his honor in recognition of his service to the profession and service now as a hospitality educator. So some of our students, I'm proud to say, at FAU have actually won the Dr. Peter Ricci Scholarship. And he's also, in addition to being recognized by the Hospitality Sales and Marketing Association International with their Lifetime Achievement Award, he's also won the Norma Bondi National Award from the Events Management Professionals. As I say, he's an outstanding faculty member. He's published numerous papers. He has extensive work experience, extensive teaching experience. In addition to teaching classes in hospitality, he also leads some of the freshman orientation classes, and I know that at least 3 or 4 of you came up to say hello again, because Dr. Ricci had taught a few people in this class quite a while back, and what I was really impressed with is he remembered helping this young man up here get a job at a hospitality resort about 7 or 8 years ago? 10 years ago. And he could remember it was the Bonaventure Resort, and I'm just going, dude, that is incredible service. So he's going to speak to us tonight on excellence in guest service management. I can attest that he is an expert in that and many other things related to the hospitality industry. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Peter Ricci.
All right, so welcome. So I told Dean Gropper I feel like I'm on Toastmasters because I was in my office and the phone rang and they said, would you kindly step up to the plate? So either that or I feel like I'm back in the hotel business where a pipe broke and you just walk out and do your thing. So I figured what I would do that would apply to an MBA group, have some fun with it, would be kind of my life's career, and that's all about passion and guest service. And when I say guest service, when I teach the MBA course in guest service, most of my students are not pursuing a career in hospitality and tourism, but you're all going to interact somehow, some way, every day with your clients. So it's all about excellence. You know, I got up early today at 5, came to campus at 6, saw Dean Gropper in our exec meeting at 10, and I'm still here doing excellent things. So funny to run into him. I remembered finding him the job at Bonaventure. And that's 10 years ago, and he was just a student in one of my undergraduate courses that I remembered. So that's kind of my life's goal, and I'm passionate particularly about hospitality. My background a little bit, I started full-time, 30 hours a week when I was 14 years old as a dishwasher. Grew up in a family that was on welfare, had never gone to any type of formal education. Worked all the way through school and was through high school and was mentored by a self-made millionaire who owned 10 restaurants in Broward County. They were all high-end luxury restaurants, and he groomed me to be an expert at guest service and was always saying, you should go into hospitality, you should go into hospitality. That's the last thing I wanted to do, was go into hospitality, because we all know what we want to do when we're 16. So my goal was to go away to college. I had no idea where, and my entire group of friends in high school decided they were going to UF. So I went up with them, not knowing anything except that all I wanted to do was be an attorney. So at UF, all I did for 4 years was nothing legal, was work in hospitality. I worked at the president's house doing banquets because I was the only 18-year-old that had 4 years worth of fine dining experience. So I worked at the president's house for all the banquets. I did all the catering events. And then if you've been to Gainesville, they have the Stephen C. O'Connell Center where they do all the name entertainers. So I was the liaison at 19 years old to all of our contracted employees, all of our big entertainers that came in. And it was fun. I did all the banquet event orders, made sure they got all their green M&Ms and their addendums on their contract. Some singers have really peculiar oddities. But my passion was always do the best, be the best at what you do, and it doesn't matter if you're entry level or not. So I got accepted to law school at Florida, Georgia State, and Emory. I got a full ride at UM and Emory, but like any rowdy kid, I decided to go to Georgia State because it was the newest. Everybody talked me out of it that I know, including a faculty member here who you may know named Jeff Miller. He's one of the most, how many of you know Jeff Miller? Okay, a few of you. He's one of the most prominent travel attorneys in the world. And back in the day, this is pre-internet, pre-everything, I sent letters out to the 3 hospitality lawyers I could find and said, listen, I'm going to law school, and I'd be interested to learn what you do every day. And he wrote back, take my advice, you seem nice, don't go to law school. So I was like, what? In the mail, in the old style mail. So naturally I called him. He chewed my ear for an hour. I can see you in operations. I can tell from your writing ability. I can tell from this, da-da-da. Don't go to law school. And I'm like, this guy's, crackpot. So, of course, I went to law school. 6 weeks in, I hated it, dropped out. Okay, now what? Tell my dad that I'm going to go back to UF and be a major in recreational studies. You know how that sounds after you got a full ride to law school? And I had to go beg and plead the dean, who was very nice, and say, please give me an assistantship because I gave up a boatload of cash to go to law school for free. And he said, why are you here? And I said, I just love this business. And so that's how my life changed. I finally accepted I was a hospitality guy. I worked at Marriott through grad school. And I worked for an airline that's long since gone away called Eastern Airlines, and you may have heard of it in history. And that's what I did, and the rest has just been hospitality. When I graduated, my first job was doing meetings and events at sea, and I worked for a company in Coral Gables that does nothing but full ship, cruise ship, not small ships, full ship charters for companies. And because I was always detail-oriented for excellence, I improved their profits by $3 million in the first year. And I started to realize, hey, there's a connection between how good you are in business and how many bonuses you get. And I happen to like to play blackjack, which I don't know if Dan Gropper knows, but he does now. So I like to play blackjack, and I love to gamble. But to fund my gambling, I need to make more money. So my way was always to hit my bonuses. And I'm like, wow, this is kind of interesting. So on one of my trips, I met the president of the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau. And he convinced me to go work in tourism marketing in Miami for a few years, commission only. And I did that for 4 years with my master's. And it was the best opportunity I ever did. It was scary. but it pushed me to be excellent. And my job was attracting new businesses to the Convention and Visitors Bureau as members and getting them to use the benefits of Miami visitors to enhance their profits. So my thinking had always been, okay, the better you provide yacht charters, the better you provide haircuts at your salon, the more networking you do at your restaurant, the more I'm going to increase your profits. And it was all about service and dedication. Till this day, I have a policy, it's informal, not written, for all of my faculty members. If you email me, you get a response, usually within an hour, but definitely within a day. I email 24/7, and some of you can attest to it because you're on my job email list. I personally email every student jobs, so if you ever want to get a hospitality job, just email me, I'll put you on my list. And I'm all about excellence. Whether I'm teaching, it's going to be excellence in teaching. Whether I'm running a hotel, it's excellence in hotel. So my time at the Miami CVB also solidified my business skills about taking excellent service and turning it into profit. On the academic side, when I read journal articles that try to find a direct correlation or some type of statistical significance between guest service and profit, it's a hard thing to get your arms around because there's so many variables that go into that. But so I want to finish my career before I go through the PowerPoint with you. So after the CVB, my last 7 or 8 years before going into academia were in the hotel business. I became a fixer terminator kind of guy. I don't know how to explain it. I either was coming in to fire you and maintain your property for 2 or 3 months until we hired a new general manager, or I was opening a brand new property. And I moved 17 times in 12 years. I loved it. My stuff went into storage, and I never saw it again for 12 years, ever. I lived at 61 different hotels, and I don't like to fly. Even though I work for the airlines, I really never liked to fly. So I was always in the Southeast. So I lived in Atlanta and Mobile and Tallahassee and Jacksonville and Orlando and Sarasota and then Orlando again and then Miami and then Orlando again. I mean, I was always back in Orlando. And my companies, I worked for 2 different hotel management companies, and they managed all different brands. So one day I'd be managing a Hilton, the next 4 months I'd be managing a Marriott. In my portfolio, my goal was all about guest service for profits. And I remember taking over, there's 2 specific projects I want to talk to you about, because one of them's really close here. There's a DoubleTree on Hillsborough Boulevard at I-95. And when I took over that property, it was a Hilton. We fired the GM. It was nobody was ever happy to see me, let's put it that way. So, because when I arrived, you knew the axe had come down, and it was you either were going to resign or you're going to get terminated. So I arrived, the GM had already left for the day, like kind of permanently for the day. And I checked into my room, and I said, what's going on with this project? We were making $10 million a year overall. And I'm like, this doesn't compute. The hotel has 221 rooms. It's a Hilton. It's upscale. It's close to FAU. There was no hospitality program here, but they weren't even recruiting FAU students or MBAs. They were losing money in food and beverage, yet every food and beverage person that I talked to there said they had the best food and beverage in the country. So there was a total disconnect. Then I'm in my room, and they send me the list of Hilton branded properties by SALT scores, which, Jeff, you know because you deal with them every day. SALT scores are satisfaction and loyalty tracking. And we were number 214 of all Hiltons out of 216. Okay, pretty bad, pretty bad. So my strategy became, okay, within 6 months, I'm going to hire a new GM. I'm going to implement a guest service class 3 days a week. I don't want to fire people automatically, because a lot of students, when I talk to them and I give them a case study, how would you fix this restaurant? How would you fix this hotel? Fire the chef, fire the manager. That's not really the way you want to start. You know, you might have to get there, but it's not really the way you want to start. So what we did in 6 months was purely amazing, and it's my favorite project to date. When I left, we were number 17. annual revenues went up to 21 million, so they more than doubled. And that was in a 6-month period. So we're celebrating all this success, and it was all through service. Instead of, hi, welcome to the Hilton, it now became, it's my pleasure for you to be at the Hilton. Yes, our rooms are old. I don't care. We're going to make you happy. What do we do to make you happy? The whole culture changed. And it took a while. It took 4 or 5 hour trainings per day. And some of the associates would say, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to go work at Walmart, or I'm going to go work at Bank of America. I don't want to be so happy. I'm like, fine, go ahead. If you're going to work with me, you're going to be the best at what you do. I remember the controller telling me, I've never had to send an email back to somebody in the same day. You're nuts. I'm like, what? When do you usually email them back? Within a week. That's my standard. Do any of you have a within a week return email policy? I surely hope not, okay? Because all of you, you're on your devices and stuff. We are in a 24/7 world. And a guest doesn't care if a hurricane's here, if your power's out, they still want their Hilton Honors points. They're still wondering, my favorite guest complaints when I worked at this property was that we were located in Deerfield Beach, and I would actually get Hilton guest relation cases that we were lying on our city name because there was no beach. That we were probably in Deerfield, and I was lying to them that Deerfield Beach was a different city. And I'm like, okay. Legitimate Hilton complaints that I had to take my time up. So anyway, guest service has saved my butt in terms of profit. To the point at this property where right before I left, my next project was in exciting Mobile, Alabama. So I'm driving to Mobile. Any of you been to Mobile? It's a beautiful city. Oh, awesome. A couple of you. Beautiful city, but it's a long drive. And I'm on my way there, and the new GM that we hired right before I left calls me, and he says, oh my God, the CEO of Hilton just called me and told me we're in trouble. We're going to have a huge fine. And I'm like, why did Chris Nacetta call our little franchise property? He said, because they think we fudged the numbers. And what SALT does is it tracks the unique identifier code of the computer that somebody's completing a survey. And if you fudge it, you'll get kicked out of the system. So they said there's no hotel that has ever moved more than 30 spots in the time frame that we have, and we moved 170 spots or something amazing. And I'm like, please, I said, yeah, and I hung up the phone, like thinking they're just giving me grief because I left, It rings again. I said, will you please stop, I'm getting gas. So I turn the phone off, and I drive to Mobile, and I get there, and everybody at the hotel is looking at me like, you're in trouble. I'm like, what do you mean I'm in trouble? I'm the GM. I'm here to fire your GM. I'm not the one in trouble. And they're like, yes, you're in trouble. And so Hilton really thought that we were fudging the system. So I got on the phone with Chris Nacetta, who to this day is now my friend, the CEO of Hilton Worldwide. And he said, you sound intelligent. You sound like a nice guy, but I know you're blowing smoke up my... And I'm like, what do you mean? I was so offended because my whole life is about doing things right so you make profit and you're successful. And they just wouldn't buy it. So what happened in the end that let me tell you, I stayed at Hilton for free for 2 years after they apologized. So what happened in the end is we had booked an airline crew for Southwest Airlines. And any of you who stay in hotels or who know anything about the hotel business, airline crews, when they always have some crew members who have to stay overnight in the city because the flights end for the day, there's always going to be some. It could be 10, it could be 2, it could be 50. It depends on the city. Airline crew business is very low rated. They don't pay well at all. And airline crew have a tendency to complain a lot. And so they're paying low money, and they complain here and they pay here. So they're very bad piece of business in some ways, but you need them because they pay you every day of the year and they fill your rooms. And all the hotel guys are like, yeah, we know, right? Well, in this case, we had booked Southwest Airlines, and they had 30 rooms a day out of our 220 because, again, remember, the hotel had been performing very poorly, so my goal was get it to close to 100% at a good rate so we'd make double the income. And they were so happy because of the culture we had just built that they were all going on the website every day and filling out surveys. And they were using the business center, which has the same IP address. Okay? So here I am pleading, this is what we did. We spent $200,000 over budget on guest service and, on things, and you're not believing me, you're not believing me. Well, when they found out it was real, then they wanted to recruit me to be the Hilton, associate VP of HR. And I'm like, no, I have, another 3 months and I'm going back to school. But that was eye-opening for me on how shattering guest service can be if you do it right. I know several of you probably want to be entrepreneurs. I'm telling you, my dentist, my attorney, my mechanic, my dog, my cat sitter, these are all the best at what they do, or I don't do business with them, period. And I don't know if Dean Gropper will agree, but I try to be the best faculty member I can. I mean, I work my butt off, and I promise excellence. I always admit when I'm wrong, I'm humble, but I'm going to promise you if I'm there, it's going to be excellent. And what I think we've done here at FAU in 10 years with our hospitality program is excellence. We made it into the top 30 nationally faster than any other school. We've grown from 3 majors when I started here to 800 students and seats. And, my goal is to be a kick-butt program through excellence. And like seeing you and remembering that I got you the job at the Bonaventure, I'll remember where I found you a job. I'll remember if they called me and said, hey, not a great recommendation or superstar or whatever, and this guy's happened to be a superstar. I remember all those things because I'm committed to excellence. Okay, so that's my little preface. When you get asked to speak, 20 minutes before I meet you guys, I had no idea what to pull off the cuff, so I figured guest service is a theme because I've had students in the MBA last summer. I'd say out of my class of 30, 20 of them still communicate with me regularly, and that was a guest service class. One works at Bank of America. He's a relationship manager, is his job title. He focused on some guest service skills, and he increased his client base this year by 32% over last year. And it was all based on service. Another one, she works for a printing company, and I'm all about responsiveness and listening to what you are looking for as a client. So she said, some of the takeaways from this class, our CEO owner does not listen to the client. All he focuses on is bottom line. And not all the clients want bottom line. Some people are willing to pay you premium if you're there for them. So now they have different ways they approach their printing clients based on whether they want price, whether they want turnaround, whether they want quality printing, better paper products, whatever it is. And she said, I can attribute that to us being 6% up year over year. So I'm not really concerned about what part of the business world you're going to go into. I just think you need to be passionate and excellent at what you choose to be. I live, eat, breathe hospitality. I tried to be a hospitality attorney, but it wasn't what I was best at. The only reason I'm here being an academic is I was managing a hotel in Orlando in the year 2000, and we won Best Newcomer Award of all IHG hotels in the world by guest service. And there was a guy there at our cocktail reception named Harris Rosen, who you may have heard of. He's a large donor and philanthropist in Orlando who's a hotelier by profession. And he said, listen, I'm getting ready to donate $18 million to UCF. You've been teaching for 10 years as an adjunct. It's time to do your doctorate. And I said, still, at 38, no, I'm not doing a doctorate. I'm going to go to law school. He's like, still? You're still saying that? Haven't you realized that is not your calling? And I'm like, all right. So he convinced me to do my doctorate at UCF. And I was hired, and probably Dean Grob will appreciate this because we're on the academic side, but I was hired as an assistant professor, tenure earning, and had to have the same level of publications as my peers, even though I was going to school full time, which was bizarre. And I had to finish my doctorate and everything and be ready for tenure in 5 years. I finished in 3 years, and I got tenure in my 5th year. So I think it was all, again, because of my passion and excellence. How many of you in here really feel in your soul that you know what you want to do? Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Wow, the hospitality guys have their hands up. That's nice. All right, somebody I don't know, tell me what you want to do. Don't be shy. Let me talk a little bit. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to head a marketing department.
And what's your name?
Ashley.
Ashley, nice to meet you. So what area of marketing? Any idea, or are you just really into marketing?
I'm into marketing. I like the psychology of it.
Awesome. Awesome, awesome. It's nice that you're broad because marketing applies to every business. Every business. Who else? Who's passionate? Don't be shy. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Sharon. I want to expand my fertility centers.
Oh, very nice. So you already have them in operation?
I have one.
Okay.
I want to have more. That's why I'm here.
A goal for how many, or wherever it takes you? Awesome. Who else? I know somebody over here. Yeah.
My name is Barbara, and I'm passionate about, it's actually not hospitality, but patient services, which ends up along the same thing. I want to improve the experience for patients as far as quality of care, but also the experience of being in a hospital, because frankly, it sucks.
I'm telling you, I had cancer this year. I had my adrenal gland out, and the cancer went bye-bye, thank God. And I stayed at Memorial in Hollywood and had the most amazing experience, to the point where I wrote 5 letters to every person I could find. When I came out of surgery, what I wanted first thing was Diet Coke. I don't know why. I'm a huge fan of McDonald's Diet Coke. Don't tell me why it has to be McDonald's. So I was in intensive care for a while, and then I didn't get to my room till like 10 p.m. And my best friend was with me, and she said, "Oh my God, who do you know here, Mr. Hospitality?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She opened the refrigerator. There's 2 6-packs of Diet Coke.
Exactly, and that's what it should be.
To me, that is service. That is service. Yeah. And, you say patient service. We're all in the service business, period. Holy Cross posts their patient services jobs with me. Nordstrom posts jobs with me. It's retail, but still hospitality. Rental cars, banks, all those people. You had your hand up, sir?
Yeah,
What are you
I
gonna
actually want to start my own wealth management company.
Awesome. Any specific range? What's your name?
Sean,
Sean, nice to meet you.
and my range as far as like target demographic, or range as far as
Yeah.
target industry.
Industry.
Well, as far as like, I guess, bringing large-based trading to maybe smaller individuals, where so they'll be able to kind of control their own wealth portfolio without having to have their own schooling to do it.
Awesome. All of you need to find someone who's totally in love with what they do and hang out with them until they inspire you and turn your flame on. Because I'm telling you, here was an industry guy from a family that I grew up on welfare, never considered myself bright. I always considered myself the dumbest of the smart kids, because in my high school, I was always 20th. And the top 20 at that time in Broward County got to go to Broward College for free. And I was always 20th. When I would go to 21st, I'd study a little bit that week. And then I get back to 19th, I was happy. But I was always the dumbest of the smart kids. That's how I called myself. And, hospitality just took me a long way. But it doesn't matter what field you're in. It's just a matter of what sets your fire. All right? Now, I had Tanya May email you this significant packet. So you'll see it in your email. This is a guest service kind of seminar that I do that's about 4 hours in length. And I know we have about 20 minutes left, or 30, or whatever you guys have. So I want to highlight some things about it. First of all, you also have the PowerPoint. This is my email address. I personally send out jobs every day. I have about 2,000 employers who email me directly. So if any of you are seeking jobs in hospitality area or customer service type jobs, email me and I'll add you on the list. You may want to opt out within a couple days because you get so many emails. But like this young man, you found a job, and then you could opt out later, and then you can opt back in, and you can drive me crazy. That's okay. So I do that because I'm passionate. I didn't go into academia because I wanted to be a professor at Yale. I went into academia because I wanted to take people like me who want to succeed in life and have a passion and get them into a business that I'm passionate about. So I feel that one of my key anchors of being in hospitality is remaining very engaged in and current in the hospitality business and helping students get a better life. You know, whether you're entering freshman out of high school or whether you're pursuing your PhD. So in hospitality, of course, we're all about service. We have Ritz-Carlton, you know, we have JetBlue, we have some legacy brands, Walt Disney World. One of the speakers at Forum who used to come to this course just moved back to Orlando. She's the general manager of the Walt Disney World Grand Floridian. And her name's Mary Louise Fitzgibbon. She's one of my role models. And the reason I love Mary Louise is because she has 2 sets of identical twins. She has 11-year-old twin boys and she has 4-year-old twin girls. And she never stopped being a general manager. And yet, if you talk to anybody in Starwood, which is now Marriott, and say, who's the best GM in your whole portfolio, 8 times out of 10, they're going to say Mary Louise Fitzgibbon. So this woman is just super amazing, and she's all about excellence. And when we met each other probably 20 years ago at a conference, she just inspired me. So in hospitality, it's not uncommon to feel that guest service leads to satisfaction. And satisfaction will make your employees happy and it'll also make your guests happy and you give you profits. There's links there. But in reality, it's lip service 80% of the time. And the true passionate hospitality companies do it right, and so do the people who manufacture volleyballs and own hair salons. It's the small 10% that really are passionate. You know, I know some of you in here work for Hilton and work for Marriott and work for big companies. It's very hard when you're trying to manage shareholder return on investment and also go above and beyond for your guests. I'm not going to call you out, Jeff, in class, but I am, I guess, because you know, Jeff's working at a Hilton branded property right now that has a no, really try to conserve on giving anything back for the guest if you can, because we're down financially from the hurricane. Well, if I'm staying here in October, one, doesn't even look like you had a hurricane because I'm from, I don't know, Ohio, and I see one tree fell down, but it doesn't look like you had one. The hotel's open, and I'm not happy with my internet. So I want a refund. I'm not worried about your balance sheet. I'm not worried about your statement of cash flows. I'm worried that I'm not having a good stay. So in hospitality, it's a never-ending battle to make sure that customers are pleased and happy. And, you know, the internet, all of the websites, all of the rating sites, Yelp, all those things, they've just made it harder and harder and harder. So one slide that I did want to show is this one, because what is excellent guest service to me is going to be very different from him, very different from you, and very different from you. So the first thing we do in hospitality is to try to define what is exceptional guest service. I'm going to the Addison on Monday, which is a lovely catering facility here in Boca if you haven't been. They have outstanding food. And their owner is constantly trying to improve. I'm like, your guest feedback surveys are 9.88 out of 10, and she wants to get 9.9. To me, that's admirable. Still spending money on training, still trying to get better every day, still trying to outdo any other catering facility you have. So who's a sport management major in here? Okay, we got a couple. You put your hand up first, sir, so you're going to get picked on. Oh, Florida State logo. Oh, my. Oh, my. No offense, Dan. No offense, but I have to look at it right there. So so tell me. Yeah, he makes it even more prevalent. Nice. So what's exceptional guest service in your mind, and how you think you're going to do exceptional guest service in a sport role?
I always try to be the best.
Okay.
Kind of play off of what you see and take on how, I don't know how to explain it, like take on how things are going and then improve on what you learn.
Okay. And what's your name? Ian. So Ian, do you think that every day you can try to improve on things?
Absolutely.
Okay. I've been teaching it 11 years here at FAU. And when Tanya May said, oh, there's a camera, do you want to get recorded? I said, absolutely, I do. I always critique myself. I mean, I'm still learning every day, you know? And if you're not learning every day, you've become too pompous, arrogant, or something's wrong. And that doesn't fly with me. So, okay, try and improve yourself. Who else? Sir, how about you? Tell me something excellent guest service in your... Excellent guest service.
I work in law enforcement.
Okay. Oh, good example. Can you give good guest service in law enforcement? Absolutely. How many of you have waited a long time before, well, I'm admitting I had tickets, so sometimes when you get a ticket, it takes a long time for them to process. Oh, we don't know where it is in the system. We don't know that officer. We can't read their writing. You know, there can be excellence in law enforcement. Absolutely. How are you? What do you do, sir?
Well, my name's Kevin, and currently I'm just a student. However, I do have retail management experience, and I worked at Macy's. So you have, if you want to talk about exceptional guest service, I think on-the-fly, spontaneous behaviors that make people happy.
Okay. If you can't hear him in the back, he's worked at Macy's. Not now, but he has. On-the-fly, spontaneous reaction to a guest. That's an awesome way to put it. Macy's, of course, up there with the top. If I were in the brick and mortar retail business right now, I'd be a little scared because the stores are fairly empty. And service was what saved them, but it's challenging right now, you know? So that service that you performed at Macy's and being spontaneous and taking care of a guest has to be transferable right now to e-commerce. And how are you going to see them, feel them, understand them if they're not right in front of you? It's hard, right? Okay. So however your clients or your guests, so we call them guests often in hospitality, I don't want to use that all the time here, but your customers, however they define exceptional service is what you have to do in your business procedures. And that's where a lot of my GMs failed, and that's where a lot of my general managers, GMs, that's where they failed, and that's why they wound up getting terminated. Because in their mind, exceptional guest service or perception was what they liked. If they were a chef, you know, restaurants have an incredibly high failure rate when people go into the restaurant business. And most of the time, it's because the chef only wants to cook what he or she really likes and kind of forces it on the marketplace versus listening to the clients and what they like and deciding, okay, you may want to have casual service, but maybe this market deserves more, and your customers are telling you that, but you're not listening. So you kind of have to define or let them define it, and it's a little challenging in the beginning. I'm sure Macy's clients and Nordstrom clients, they'll tell you what they want, especially in Boca. And that's something I tell my students all the time. If they can work in Boca and succeed in hospitality, they can work anywhere. Because when they wind up in Oklahoma or Arkansas, or like I lived in Mobile, Alabama, where everybody held the door and everybody said hello, and then they let you pass in the car, I was like, what is this? You know, this is like Epcot. It's so different, you know? I'm going to give you a Publix example of what I consider a superb service example. Now, when I grew up, I'm 52, and I moved to Florida when I was 12. So I've lived in Florida as my permanent home 40 years. Even when I moved all the time, I still consider Florida my home because I had a place here in Margate. But at 52, Publix is not the superb service provider that it was when I was 22, but it's still the best, in my opinion, of the grocery chains. So I have an example. I'm an animal rescuer. I love animals. And I rescued a blind cat from the street of Wilton Manors who was bleeding and this and that. Took her in, cared for her, got her care. Find out that she has all kinds of stomach issues and this and that. And being the caregiver, now I have to use special litter and special food and all the other things we do when we love animals. So I found that she was reacting very well to an all-natural cat litter that was manufactured by Fresh Step. And I looked around, I found one box at Target, I found one box at Publix, and I was going crazy trying to find this cat litter all the time. So one day I was in Publix and I was looking, and a young man came up to me and said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yeah, I'm looking for Fresh Step." He said, "Go see our customer service manager and tell him what it is." So I walked over there, said, "Nice to meet you. What's your name, Peter? What's your cell number? I'll give you a call." So I leave thinking like any South Floridian, yeah, right. They were going to hear from them again. The next day, I get a phone call, and he says, I've ordered you 20 boxes of Fresh Step. It'll be in our storage room. You don't have to buy them all at once. And when the storage room gets down to 3 cases, I'll replace it for you every time. You don't have to tell me. And as a matter of fact, we had a sale on Fresh Step last week, so I'm going to give you $3 off the first 20 boxes. Just when you check out, stop at customer service, get my name, whatever. Blown away, right? Excellent guest service. Story gets a little better. Year later, my cell phone rings. I'm here at FAU. It's a number I don't know. Hello, this is Peter. Hi, it's your friend from Publix from a long time ago, Jay. I said, hey, Jay, what's up? He said, I found bad news for you. He said, I just found out that Fresh Step is discontinuing the all-natural litter. So if you don't mind, I ordered every available case in the Southeast. I have 612 of them. And he said, how old is the beast? The beast is my cat. I said, the beast is 8. That cat litter will live all of her 9 lives, probably. So I said, what do I do? And he said, you don't have to do anything. So till this day, I still have Fresh Step Naturals coming, and it discontinued 3 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. So that's my Publix story. Now, don't get me started on some of my Publix stories, but that's the one I use for here. And I think it's kind of amazing. I would like to show you, let me see how we're doing for time. What time do we go to, Dan? Do you know? I don't know. Okay, I want to. Yeah, I want to show you one quick video, then we'll do some Q&A and things. Okay. Let me see if I can get this to run nicely. Okay, this is a commercial that I really like.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Good morning.
Hold on, I'll restart if I can make it bigger for you.
Here you are. Have a nice flight.
Thank you.
Okay, go, go, go!
Yeah, I found them. They are the
864.
Welcome on board on your flight is in 501. We'll be ready for departure and enjoy your flight. Mr. Smith Jr., can you look outside, please? There's a surprise for you.
Now watch,
Brussels Airlines.
now watch the second part of the commercial for the real impact.
Good afternoon, and 146 is ready to taxi.
Mr. Smith boarded? Just a minute, I'll just check here. He's just boarded.
Jay, go, go, go!
Mr. Smith, can you look outside? There's a message for you.
Yes!
I love this commercial. It's dramatic and it's fake, and yes, it's a commercial. But the people I know who have flown them have said they're just amazing, and that is their culture. They had a 99.8% satisfaction rate in 2017 so far. I mean, I would love to check the satisfaction rate for Delta or Spirit or any of those. I can't even get them to say hello, let alone stand together and form words, right? So I will close with this video of Marriott. This is a speaker who's very engaging. I've seen him here in Boca several times. And this is about his experience at a Marriott.
This is Maria Garcia. I met her 6 years ago at the Orlando Marriott. I have been traveling back and forth across the country. I was in Miami and then Seattle, and then I was in Dallas, Texas, and then I was back to San Francisco, and then I ended up in Orlando by Friday. Exhausted, tired, midnight, hungry. First thing I do is I reach for that room service menu. See a picture of a mushroom bacon cheeseburger, which, as you know, is perfect for late night dining. So I get a Diet Coke to offset the effect. And it comes up in 20 minutes. That was less time than they said. And the picture didn't even do justice to this amazing hamburger, and the steak fries were golden brown, perfect, everything's so hot. She brought me a Diet Pepsi. I don't like Diet Pepsi. I'm fussy about that one thing. I like Diet Coke better than, then they said, well, there's a lime. You can put a lime in there, maybe it tastes like a Diet. You can put lime, buttons, cigarettes. Doesn't matter what you put in there. Isn't going to be a Diet Coke. But there was ice water. I said, that's fine, thank you. Oh, I'm so sorry. We apologize. We're out of these in the room service kitchen and big convention. And so it's okay. It's 12:20 now. And thank you very much for bringing this. And I appreciate it. She leaves. Not even 30 seconds later, bam, bam, bam. She's knocking on my door with an ice cold Diet Coke. So now I'm suspicious. Where'd that come from? She said, I found this 4 floors down in the machine. Thought you'd like to have it. I know, I'm a grown man. I did the same thing. Oh, let me pay for that. She wouldn't take my money. Would not take my money. No, just make sure you're happy here, Mr. Schaefer. She leaves. I'm just stunned. So I get on the phone, right? Room service. Who was that woman that just delivered that hamburger? Oh, that's Maria Garcia. You know, she's amazing. I travel all the time. I talk about this. She deserves a raise or should be in charge of training. This is unbelievable what she did. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Would you mind saying something to the hotel manager? Yes, I would. I get a guy's extension. I call him. Hi. I'm staying in the hotel. I speak on customer service, and there's a woman named Maria Garcia in room service. She is unbelievable. She needs to be in charge of training. She should have put on seminars for every other hotel employee. Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. Would you mind writing a letter to Marriott International? You know, I was thinking of having a hamburger. But now that I'm working for you guys, I am on it. Yeah. And the truth is, I never ate that hamburger. I ate a bite of that steak fry, and the story got to me so much that I wrote that letter to Marriott International. And then I scribbled out a chapter for one of our books and created an HR training film with this scene in it. I have done everything except marry that woman, Maria Garcia. Because look what's happened from her 30-second effort down to the machine. She's created me as an unpaid spokesperson for Maria Garcia and the Marriott hotels. I've told that to probably hundreds of thousands of people by now in 6 years. Why are we not in that business? Why are we not creating such an unforgettable experience that is emotional, that causes other people to talk about us and other people to accelerate our careers? That's the business we should be in. It's good for them, good for us. Now, I got a follow-up story to this. I go back about a year and a half after that with a book and a tape and some letters from clients who were inspired by that story. I can't wait to give them to her, and she's not working there now. She had left a week earlier to take another job, and the manager says, hey, but you should hang on to this package and give it to her in person. You're going to run into her at some point, I'm sure. She's the new food and beverage manager at our Boston property. Yeah, any surprise? Think I was the only one who ever said anything nice about Maria Garcia? You think I ever got so much as a thank you from this woman? No.
All right, so I'll stop there because this is a very, I could go days on guest service. I could. So I feel bad that you can only have a taste. I hope some of you will take guest service excellence with me at the MBA class because we transform you in how you think. And I actually have you go out and do a full-fledged mystery shop of a venue, whether it's a store, a hotel, and you write like a 20 or 30-page detailed paper, which it's not as scary as it sounds. But you have to be so attentive to detail that my favorite comment from last year was, gosh darn you, Ricci, I can't go anywhere now without thinking about service. And that I'm great with that. Because I want to tie it into you being in Forum. I mean, this is how you're going to make successful companies. Yeah, the product's always going to be new. Something's always going to be innovative. Something's always going to be coming out. Well, you know, in the hotel business, there wasn't a year that everybody was trying to have a new bed. We have the heavenly bed. We have the pseudo heavenly bed. We have the kind of heavenly bed. We have the. It's like, yeah. Okay, but it's the way people make you feel and how they respond to you that will get you to buy the products and stay loyal to them. I have one mechanic. I have, like, you know, my favorite dentist. I like to work with people who do excellent things. My faculty will tell you that there's not a day that I'm not passionate. The day I lose that, then I get out of business, period. So with that, I'll open up for Q&A, and I'd love for you to reach out to me at any time. Yes, sir.
I have a question. Do you have any advice for us students when it comes to organizing a presentation with 20 minutes of prep that's going to go on for an hour?
No, did I bomb that bad?
I'm wondering how you prepare for something like that.
You just go with your passion. If you're passionate, you can talk about it, you know? Like, I just literally came and showed up, you know? But this is how I would be at Chili's. It'd get a little annoying when I'm out with friends. Enough. You know, just have a beer. Stop evaluating the service. You know, so it does get a little much. Let me go in the back first. Who over there? Yes, ma'am.
First, I loved the meeting and the management program that you did. I did it last year.
You did the certificate with us, right? Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, the Boca Resort.
So my question will be, besides empathy and patience, what do you think are the most important skills?
Okay, besides empathy and patience, what are the most important skills? Being honest and having integrity. I don't think I've ever even had to tell Dan Gropper a fib, let alone a lie. When you don't lie, you don't have to make crap up, ever. And the guests will be compassionate with you if you don't lie. I see so many young people get into the hotel business and they pull stuff right out of their butt trying to cover them so they don't have to deal with the angry guests. Guests don't want that. They want you to be competent and they want you to be honest. I'm okay if my room's not ready, if you tell me the real deal and then you come through with your promise. You know, whether that promise is, I can't stand going to a hotel, we'll text you when your room's ready. Oh, that's what you're taught to say, but you don't have the infrastructure to get it done. So don't promise me and lie. So I would say integrity and honesty along with passion and empathy. And also listening skills. I'm very, you know, I'm an outgoing guy when it comes to presentations, but I'm actually an introvert by nature. And I had to learn not to multitask. And so now when a student comes to my office, and I apologize to Michael because I did this today, I was so engrossed in my computer that I didn't turn and look at him. But I forcefully turn away from my technology now and focus on you. And that is something that passionate, good service providers will do. When it's your time, it's your time. I'll go back to doing my other stuff 10 minutes from now. But we have a hard time in a tech-driven society to not think that we're multitasking and we do it really well so nobody notices. You know? Yes, ma'am.
One of the biggest challenges in many companies that I work for is that they want a Disneyland and they want to give that customer service, but then there's a staff of 5.
Sure.
So what is the ideal, how do you calculate the ideal amount of staff, your budget, and the customer service you want to give?
Well, resources are always going to be insufficient, period. Hire right is the best thing you can do. We have a tendency in the hotel business where I spent the last several years, and we had it in the cruise line industry too, where we would just hire bodies. Yeah, oh my God, we need a reservationist for 3 months. You passed the drug test, bring her in. I'm like, that is not really what we want to do. So here, you know, you don't have to talk to me about resources. Dan knows. I started with a faculty of 1, and we became a kick-butt program. So we know we need resources. Everybody's always going to need resources. But if you hire right and build a culture, that won't become an evident issue. If you hire by mistake or rush, or if you hire someone who's not sincere in their passion level, then you'll have issues. Like I know you work in admissions. Admissions is always understaffed. You're always running in circles there. But that doesn't mean Francine Coker doesn't give me great service. Right? So every time I've needed her, her service has been outstanding. It's as if I'm a person the only person she's dealing with a student who's interested in FAU. That's how I feel with you and your director. And I know that's impossible because we all work for the same institution and we don't have enough resources. I would love if Dan said, hey, here's my pot of gold, hire 3 new faculty, build yourself a school. It's not reality. But we're still excellent. We still made it to top 30 with schools that have 10 times the budget I have. And I like challenges. You know, I could have easily fled FAU many years ago. But I'm like, I like challenges, and I like being kicked butt with limited resources. It's more fulfilling every day when I go home. So that's how I would kind of answer that with you. Who else? Saw some other hands. Yes, sir.
So, previously before you had spoken with us, you had mentioned that you won awards that sound pretty important. I don't know much about that specific award, but can you describe how it felt to receive those? Can you tell
The most important award I think I've ever won is Distinguished Alumnus for the University of Florida. My college was the College of Health and Human Performance. So I was competing with medical people, doctors, people who've saved lives, and I'm like, I've checked people in, you know. I mean, I basically made your trip better. That really tickled my soul. Like I won for the college, and then I won the overall university. And I knew that it was basically at some point they're going to say, well, you need to start donating to us. But to come from a family that had no car and live on welfare, and to go all the way through and get my doctorate on student loans and then actually pay my student loans off. You know, I mean, that was the award that really hit my soul. When they, then along came the scholarship named after me, and every year I can't tell you how much fun that evening is. You know, Dean Gropper comes with his lovely wife, and my faculty come, and we give $5,000 or $10,000 out a year, and I raise the donations, and everybody helps, and it just puts me back to being 15 years old working in the restaurant, hearing John Carlone saying, you're excellent at what you do, you're going to give back to people someday. And I'm like, I don't have anything to give back to. I mean, he had to give me shirts and pants because we couldn't afford to buy them. And I wore the same bow tie and shirts for like 3 years. But I kept them clean, you know. So those are my 2 things in life that I'm most proud of. And of course, our program here, I'm very proud of this. Because when I was at UCF, we started with 80 kids, and when I left, we had 2,000, and I was very instrumental in that, but I wasn't as proud as I am of here. Michael, yeah?
I'm still mad at you for not acknowledging
I acknowledged you, I just was busy.
It's actually cool because I've never gotten to hear your history and background in hospitality, even though I've known you for so long. After staying at so many hotels and visiting so many properties, I know you might be a little bit biased, but which chains do you prefer? Do you prefer Hilton's? Do you prefer Marriott's, and why?
It's interesting. You know, I feel somewhat bad for anyone 30 or under because you guys have so many brands to pick from. And I don't know what the difference is from an Aloft to an Even to a this to a that. So I think we've really created brands just so that every parent franchisor company can play in every market segment. But I have had the best feelings and the most connection with Hilton. Even though they pissed me off, and even though they accused me of doing something totally that was when I actually got to know the CEO, I think the Hilton culture is where I would work again. It's like so funny. Every 3 months I get a call to come back and be a GM. And I'm like, okay, I'm 52. Maybe at 55 or 60 that'll stop. But I'm like, I hear what the GMs have to face today, and it's craziness. And my region had 38 hotels, so it was always craziness when I was the regional vice president. But today's a different world. And guests are so demanding because, you know, what you used to tell your friend on the phone, and you actually dial a rotary phone, now is instantaneous, and you're posting to, you know, 1 million people your comments on Instagram or Facebook, or your great dinner. I mean, positive and negative. One thing I forgot to say, I would encourage all of you, when you have great guest service, write a letter, just like you do when you have bad service. I always promise to myself, if I have something exceptional, I take the time to acknowledge that person and their supervisor or whoever I can write to, and the same thing when something's bad, because it needs to be quid pro quo. I hate when I would always get 80% negative comments and 20% positive. And I know when you're in the front lines in retail, you feel like you get beat up in the hotel front desk or in the restaurant, Those of you work in the bank, anywhere, you're going to feel beat up. So, yes, sir.
So I just had a question. As you were so nice to point out with my current situation in my hotel.
You're welcome.
So we're in a similar boat to the degree of where we're sitting in our satisfaction survey. I was kind of curious. You said you had classes that helped you jump enough to make Chris.
Yeah. Well, what we did is I was living on property, so we made every employee go through 60 hours of guest service training. I don't know that anybody would do that today because we paid them for those 60 hours and we pulled them off the floor. And the owner we had a heart-to-heart. He said, "Yeah, what are you on drugs?" I said, "Well, where do you want the hotel to be? Do you want it to be a $10 million a year hotel or do you want it to be a $20 million hotel?" So I had to sell him on the dream that if he did this and he spent, I don't know, 800 grand, whatever, I came up through the ranks commission only. So my reality of solving the world's problems is just go make more money. I want my faculty to get raises, so instead of asking Dan, I'm raising money for them. I want to buy brochures. We don't have any money in college business. I raise money for them. The answer is go do something about it. Don't be a lazy butt, So in that case, the owner was like, he bought into my spiel. And then when the spiel paid off, the hotel was valued at $41 million when I got there, and I think he sold it for $57 million. So, he got his money back. But there's a lot of people who talk a lot of talk, and they don't come through on the dream. So make sure you're always evaluating. But in your case right now, you're corporate managed. For you to say we're going to do an on-site class and pull associates off, you don't even have the associates to do what you need right now. I know. So coming back to what Andrew said, you have to be creative with those resources. I know some of your hires. We could talk about that offline. And I can really give you some informative ways to go forward, But
I know what you like. So it's the second part of the letter, so I was asking a question. Just because I want to know, we're doing a lot. How can when you're telling me you don't want me to text you when you're coming early to the room, how do I better tell you that check-in's at 4 without sounding like a jerk? Like saying a movie starts at 10, you don't show up to that movie at 9, and then talk to the manager and say, why is my movie not 10?
Because movies are kind of finite, and my travel schedule's not. It's very nebulous.
Sure.
And you're going to have guests. I mean, maybe many of you in this room, when people say we're paying for a night at a hotel, you don't really get 24 hours. And I've had people threaten me with a lawsuit. Well, you charged me for a night. I didn't get my 24 hours. That's not our contract. Our contract is check-in time is 3 or 4 and check-out time is noon. You're always going to have that battle, but it's a matter of truly communicating when it will be ready. And if it's not to their liking, what you're going to do that makes them happy. We don't listen enough. Like the way I got employee scores up in guest service, don't have an employee benefits program that says, oh, somebody's going to get a Walmart card if they do a nice job. Have a checklist. Have a cafeteria plan. What does Jeff want if he does a good job? He wants you to buy him a textbook. What does Peter want if he does a good job? He wants a $200 gift card to the Hard Rock so he can go play blackjack. Oh, I forgot the answer. Sorry. So I mean, that you got to understand, like, what motivates him is going to be different. When he started working at the front desk at the Bonaventure, he called me a few months later. Hey, Ricci, hospitality, I don't know, it's not for me. My calling is teaching. Well, then go be a teacher, But I don't know. To answer your question, I think you have to be a little more creative. And I know you're bright enough to get there. But I think what guests want is the truth. And Mike was so bad. Yes, sir.
Recently during Hurricane Irma, there was a guest who was staying at Misty, and she wrote a poor review, right after the hurricane because change her bed sheet quick enough.
Okay.
How would you?
If you didn't ask, he said a guest stayed at Disney during Irma and they didn't change her bed sheet. She was mad. I stayed at the Hampton in Coconut Creek because I lost my power within the first 20 minutes that they announced Irma was coming. Before it was still, literally, it was still in Santo Domingo and the power went out. So I went right away to the Hampton, which is right by my house in Coconut Creek, and I had the pleasure of sitting in the lobby all 3 days that I didn't have power initially, and helping the GM, because I couldn't help but get up and help, and helping control the guests. And my favorite complaint was very similar to that. A guy had stayed 2 nights and he wanted, Hampton has a 100% satisfaction guarantee. So if you're not happy with any part of your stay, we promise you 100%. Well, a lot of guests know that and they're out to get you. But we say a lot, but it's still 1% of the total, 2%. Well, this guest, he was legitimately unhappy because the internet went out and he couldn't watch cable TV. Those were his 2 things. So upon checkout, there's a long line of people ready to go back to their house. The power's finally on. And he's going on and badgering the GM. And he was legitimately mad about the internet. So I said, can I interject? Who are you? And I said, I'm just here in the lobby. I'm a guest like you. I said, we just had a hurricane. You're really, really upset. And I get that, but how about if she invites you back for a night? Would that be fair? Because I'm trying to learn what the guest is thinking. And he was mad that he just couldn't watch his 2 favorite shows, CSI and something else, because I heard about them all. And he was mad that he had to actually talk to his wife for 2 days. He couldn't tune her out with the TV. So you're going to have outlandish guests like that. Like, in my mind, that lady was probably paying $400 or $500 a night. She deserved to have her sheets changed. The other complaint, very similar to yours, is there was a lady who was complaining that they weren't clearing the plates in the breakfast buffet. They're plastic plates that you pick up yourself and you throw in the bin. So one of the other guests said, "Here, ma'am, there's a hurricane," and threw her plate out. And kind of like put her in place, So I see both sides. And as a professional hotelier, I would take that guest aside and say, I am completely understand. You are paying a lot. We have had a natural disaster. And 60% of my staff is not here. So what will make you happy? And that's what you have. We're a little afraid to ask them what will make them happy. And in reality, excellent guest service is really just putting it to the core and say, what can I do for you? What will make you happy? And you'd be surprised. Most people don't ask for what you already expected to give. A lot of our new students in the hospitality business, they rush to give a comp. When a complimentary stay, when a comp is totally not needed. All the guests wanted was the bacon cooked right. So a free breakfast tomorrow would have made that guest happy, and because they were scared because you were in their face, they're already comping it. So when I talk about excellence in guest service, I'm also worried about profits. I don't want to give away everything. I also don't want to take the hard line and not give away anything, because that's not going to work either. It's a gray area. What would you have done for that guest? I take it you don't work in hospitality, right?
Not right now.
Okay, but what would you have done for the lady? How would you have answered her?
I guess I would try the approach that you did and ask what you want.
Yeah.
But I would probably have a little more emphasis on the situation.
Of course, it's a natural disaster, I know. But so logic doesn't sink in sometimes when you've saved up. Like I managed a Disney hotel for a while, what we call the Good Neighbor Hotel. And I had periods of time where people would save up thousands of dollars, the husband and wife and 2 kids, come for a week from Europe and have a whole week of rain and take it out on my staff and want a refund. And I'm like, we don't really give refunds because of the weather. But I felt their pain. So I would try to appease them. We'd buy the kids a pizza. We'd say, okay, next time you come back to the States next year, I'm going to give you the first 2 nights, even though it's not my fault. I am here to care about you, and I want your repeat business. I want your profit, and I want you to love Peter. I want you to think I'm there for you, so you're giving me more business, Yes, sir.
Have you come across times where you actually could not get past the outlandish?
Of course, and if you take a guest service course, we have a small section on firing guests when it comes to the point. And I'll use Hampton as an example. Hampton they were the first major brand to implement 100% satisfaction guarantee. And all the franchisees were terrified because here's the people like you guys with MBAs that borrowed money to build a hotel, and you've chosen a Hampton brand to think you're going to become a successful entrepreneur. Now they want you to give away 100% for anybody who says something. So in the end, over I want to say 15 or 20 year period, only 1.5% have actually invoked that right to have 100% guarantee refunded. It's been a moneymaker for them because people feel safer staying at a Hampton. And most of the time you can resolve their issue without having to give them the 100% back. But if you abuse the privilege and you stay at the Hampton in Ocala and then the Hampton in Lafayette, Louisiana, and you go to Tallahassee and you're invoking that all the way, you will get a letter saying, although we have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, we've seen, Dr. Ricci, that you've used it in 5 states in the past 6 months, and it's obvious our brand is not to your liking. So while we welcome you to be a guest with us, we will no longer offer the 100% satisfaction guarantee. Those letters are probably about 1 in 10,000 or maybe 1 in 20,000. They're extremely rare, but they will put a stamp on it. So in the end, by having that guarantee, you've taken away some of the apprehension of booking an unknown and staying in a brand you might not know, and you've increased profitability. So my whole spiel and the whole semester is about guest service for profitability, not just to be a smiley, nice guy and how to deal with guest issues. That's part of it. But it's more about how you're going to be a moneymaker in business.
Make it sound like a science.
It is a science. And it's actually called guestology. That's the scientific term for it. Disney historically does it best. Yes, sir.
I've always believed that people in business can benefit from a course in guest services. With that in mind, how have you incorporated those skill sets with you as the business person? In other words, with your employees, your vendors, suppliers, and such.
Absolutely. With employees, how I treat the guests is how I treat the employees because they're my internal guests. And like I said, things like letting you pick what benefits you want. If we're spending $40 on each employee every week for benefits, how about I ask you, where would you like that? Do you want health care or do you want child care? Or do you want a day off every 10 days because maybe you want to go back to school? So it's focusing on the person, then they become more loyal, they give better service, and so on. With vendors, it's the same thing, asking for honesty, integrity, and don't BS me. When you know that lobster's going up 42 cents a pound, let me know immediately. And tell me, hey, we're going to meet in the middle, we're going to do this, but it's honesty and integrity will carry the day. Yes, sir.
Going back to what you were saying as far as choosing the correct team when you're trying to, I guess, create a company culture. I'm a sales manager at AT&T, so when I'm hiring people, which that I'm trying to appeal to people that they are passionate about what they do, and also that. But what do you do with their passion? A lot of times is making money and not an extraordinary customer experience. Like I can't be mad at them, especially in a sales-based environment.
Right. They can't have a passion in something that doesn't fit into your culture. So I've gone as long as probably 11 months without filling a director of sales role at one of our properties, which is an incredibly long time. But we don't have the right candidate. And, the owners get a little edgy and they're like, well, we need this body in here. I wish we could do that in academia. Our hiring process is a little difficult. When we finally get funding, it's like, here's your pool, pick from the pool, and hopefully pick the best. I like leaving spots open until it's the right fit. So in your case, when you're dealing with salespeople, they are aggressive to earn their money, but they have to be equally aggressive to take your business goals forward and to give service. And so I would wait for the right person. May be hard to know in an interview because everybody's putting their best foot forward, but in reality, those people exist, and you have to kind of wait for them. Yeah.
I'm just curious, since you were interested in law originally, how do you think that our sort of litigious culture and the fact that we kind of encourage people not to say I'm sorry and take responsibility has affected being an effective guest service representative?
It plays a part. Jeff Miller, who's on my faculty, teaches hospitality law, all about contracts and negotiating and do you permit food and do you permit people to bring their own drink. It's a lot of laws. One of the things that always confused me, if you work in a hotel and there's an incident of note, we have an internal incident report, but we don't share it with the guests. and it's because we don't want things misconstrued. So the law is very important, and we basically teach people at FAU in our undergrad program best practices and the most reasonable thing you should say or do to kind of put the prevention on the lawsuit. But it is difficult. You can apologize. You can say, I'm sorry. Absolutely, you can, and we do it regularly. But there's a fine line when and what you say. You don't want to open yourself for lawsuits. And people will try to sue us every day. When going back to the Hilton here, Deerfield Beach has sand fleas. So people would come back with sand fleas every day to the hotel and then say we had bed bugs. So to the point where some of them would be so argumentative, we'd have to send them to a clinic to show that they were sand fleas from the beach that they just rolled in, that they didn't want to believe, and then they'd have to pick up the tab on that. So after that word gets out, they don't ask for it much anymore.
This will be the last question in the back.
Yes, sir.
Why do you think fast food chains like McDonald's or Burger King don't put as much on guest service as Chick-fil-A?
Like Chick-fil-A? It's interesting. They're so methodical in their processes. They are superb at how they produce product quickly for cost savings, that it's a fine line on the balance. Now, if you talk to McDonald's exec or a Burger King exec, they will say that they have the same procedures in place. Chick-fil-A is more focused on guest service and puts more money into the customer experience by design. That's their culture, that's their history. McDonald's has that too, but it doesn't seem like it on the surface. So why? I don't know. And if you talk to any of those execs, because we place students in quick service, not a lot, but quite a bit, and Arby's and Burger King and Miami Subs, they will all say they have outstanding training policies and procedures and all. But what I see in reality is what you see, is that Chick-fil-A, some people, and some of you may feel this way, that Chick-fil-A is too canned. It's always my pleasure, even though you know it's not, And so sometimes some people are turned off by that, and they tell me, oh, I like McDonald's better because McDonald's is more real. So it depends on... It really depends on the consumer and what they perceive as great service. Well, thank you, guys.
Well,